Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to Up with KREM. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Channing Curtis. Thanks so much for starting off your Wednesday with us here on Up with KREM. Well, let's start things off by kicking it over to meteorologist Thomas Patrick this morning, because Thomas, it was such a beautiful sunrise. I hope the rest of the day is going to be as pretty.
Yeah, and it's looking like it's going to be that way. I will say this though. The locations down on the Palouse, like in Pullman, a bit more cloudy out there for today like it was yesterday, and that cloud cover is definitely going to be persistent over southeastern Washington. But as you look over Coeur d'Alene, plenty of blue skies overhead. The observations are reporting mostly cloudy just because there are some thin high-level clouds and, yes, that thicker cloud cover if you're looking off to the south. But the sunshine should be able to get through most of that cloud cover, and already those temperatures are responding. Look at Deer Park, up to 41 degrees at 8 o'clock this morning. Should be a good sign that most of us should be in the 50s for today. But there is that cloud cover once again taking control over the southern half of the inland Northwest.
Overnight, a fire started at the Basic American Foods facility in Moses Lake. Now, the fire is contained according to the Grant County Fire District 5. However, right now, crews are still on that scene. Via Facebook, they reported that no one was injured. However, the building has extensive damage, as you can see here from this photo. Right now, the cause of this fire is under investigation.
New overnight, we learned about new court documents filed in the case of Brian Kohberger. He's accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students. The documents show the state became aware of potential Brady Giglio material. So this actually refers to a 1963 murder case known as Brady versus Maryland. It states the prosecution must turn over evidence favorable to the accused and material that can be used against them. It's not clear what this information is. A judge agreed to keep it under seal. Our team is going through those documents and pushing to find out what this means for the case. Now to a big story. This morning, Spokane police are investigating a deadly shooting at a West Spokane apartment complex.
Now, this shooting happened yesterday afternoon at Catholic Charity's Sisters Haven Apartments. That's just by Spokane Falls Community College. Spokane police say the shooting does not appear to be a random attack. The victim was shot and killed inside one of those apartments. At this time, no one has been arrested, and it's unclear if Spokane police have a suspect, as they haven't shared any information nor a suspect description. A witness, however, told KREM 2 that she heard gunshots and then screaming.
It was bang, bang. Then heard this woman screaming. She was like, oh my God, oh my God.
Catholic Charity says they are cooperating with SPD and working to ensure the safety of residents and staff.
This morning, we are learning more about the 6 victims in Monday's tragic Nashville school shooting. Among the victims are 9-year-olds Evelyn Dickhouse, William Kinney, and Hallie Scruggs. Hallie was the daughter of Covenant Presbyterian's lead pastor. Also killed was teacher Cynthia Peak and custodian Mike Hill. Mike was a father of 7. He worked at the school for 14 years. And the head of the school, Catherine Kuntz, was also killed in the shooting.
She was an absolute champion for her students. And her students always knew that she was in their corner. You couldn't stop that woman from leading. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't a rebellion thing. It was just, she was a natural born leader.
Police say there's no evidence the victims were specifically targeted. A memorial outside of the school continues to grow as the community and nation comes to grips with another senseless tragedy. President Joe Biden says planning is underway for him to meet with the families of the victims. And coming up in the next 6 minutes, Spokane Public Schools Director of Mental Health Services, Dr. David KREM, joining us on the show. We will talk to him on how to cope with shootings like the one in Nashville. He will also give us some tips on how to talk to your kids or students about these situations.
Of course, following the tragedy in Nashville, now Idaho police departments and school districts say they're taking more steps to keeping their schools safer. They say the first line of defense for schools are school resource officers. SROs are officers who are stationed at schools and are the first responders to any emergency. Once they're assigned to a school, they go through trainings to learn how to respond to emergency situations like an active shooter. That's on top of the training they already received to become a police officer.
We really wanted to figure out for school emergencies what would work best and was a standardized approach, because under stress or anxiety, depending on what the emergency is, it could be a fire or a gas leak or a human threat. We want kids and staff to be able to respond accordingly and understand what they need to do to be safe.
The Idaho Standard Command Responses for Schools was formed in 2018. Its purpose was to make school emergencies standard across the state. The program lays out standard procedures for all lockdowns, hall checks, and evacuations. Meanwhile, here in Washington, Governor Jay Inslee has also ordered all flags to be flown at half-staff this week in honor of those killed in Nashville.
State lawmakers brought up the Nashville school shooting as an example for the need for even tougher gun laws in Washington state. House Bill 1240 would ban the sale and importation of guns defined as assault weapons. 2 of the weapons used in the Nashville school shootings would be considered assault weapons under this bill. Possession of these weapons, however, would not be banned. It passed out of the Senate Law and Justice Committee yesterday afternoon.
What we're talking about is the ability to combine so many of these features to make these weapons so much more deadly, to kill so many more people so quickly. It doesn't give people a chance.
The bill has been brought up several times over the years, but it has never made it this close to becoming a law.
It's 8:07 to another check of our weather forecast, where the West Coast's major player is this massive storm system that's moving closer towards California. So it is moving away from our region, but because of that counterclockwise flow, well, the winds are out of the south, and it is still putting some belts of moisture and cloud cover into southern Washington and southeastern Washington today, just like it did yesterday. And that's why we'll see another big temperature difference. This was yesterday's highs, ranging between 48 in Pullman up to 60 in Omak, and a very similar scenario is once again likely today. So a mix of sun or cloud cover, depending on where you're at. In Spokane, will probably once again be in the low to mid 50s by the afternoon.